Meeting will come to order, and this meeting is being recorded, Lake Management Committee meeting. And it is a hybrid Zoom. Do we have any guests? Don't see any guests yet. No. Okay. Not yet. And okay, so everybody hopefully has read the minutes.
Yeah.
And do we have any comments, concerns, changes?
The only comment I have is,
What number?
on the, canal subcommittee was actually Scotty Graves and Mike Coombs.
Where are you?
Norm, I don't believe Norm was on the
No.
subcommittee.
That's correct.
What, where is it?
I don't know, it's,
Second top down.
way down.
Page one.
It's Canal Subcommittee, okay,
Yeah, it was Scotty Graves and Mike Coombs, that's all.
and Mike Coombs.
I have something on here.
Hold on a minute,
Also,
let me get that.
I also checked on the website and the subcommittee is no longer listed as on the web.
Right, but what I did is I went back and I found the minutes from old to
Okay,
get who was on it.
I
And
got that.
Diane Gale they're going to reappoint everybody
Well, that's
that
good.
was on it.
Yeah, it was me, Scotty, it was Eric, it was Mike.
Yeah,
got it
mean,
right-
Mike
got it
the
right
Bay.
there.
yeah,
Okay, you're good.
you did the same thing I did.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, cause Mike was chair, Eric,
Eric was on it, yeah.
Yeah.
Eric was vice chair.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes then after
No,
that.
No, he had
correction.
something.
Oh, you had something too, Scott?
Yeah, I have an issue here about this boat census thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know, I did a little bit of a mini battle on this thing the last time around. It came up and there were questions and I had my own opinions. I said I would look into it and I would get back to you. And the bottom line is, at some point tonight, I'd like 5 minutes of the committee's time for me to explain the real figures in black and white of what we really do have. And we do not have anywhere near the amount of percentage of increase or decrease or whatever
okay,
that some people are talking about.
but do we leave this the way it is? Cause that's how it was stated at the,
Yeah,
That's
you can leave it that
true,
way.
I know, I mean,
You can leave it that way, but I'm gonna
yeah,
dispute all these vote count censuses
All right.
later tonight
all
okay,
right,
and prove it.
so,
so I will make a motion
Motion
to accept
is-
the minutes.
hold on a minute, let me get to those pages. That's what's wrong with this. Somebody just joined us, I think.
Michelle.
1, 2, 3, it's gotta flip a page here, be right with you. Okay, so who made the motion?
I did.
Malcolm,
Mike Coombs was second.
Mike, C, all in favor, opposed,
I,
abstain? Unanimous, now let me run down,
Now, do you have to run down?
yeah, I have to, yeah, because
even when
because
we're
it's a hybrid,
physically here?
yeah,
Okay,
because it's a hybrid.
Okay,
Oh, so we have
okay. Michelle and Diane.
Brad,
Yes.
Diane Gale, okay. All right, and so Norm,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Malcolm DeBay,
I,
Mike's not here, Dick Reynolds, aye, Scotty.
Aye.
Deb's not here yet, Paul Murphy,
Aye.
okay, affirmed. Okay, somebody else just joined, or is that,
No.
oh, we have Diane and Michelle, okay. Alrighty, and moving along, first item up for bid would be Norm with, Concom update. Oh, public comment. Almost missed that, public comment, anybody?
Is there anybody here from the public?
Yeah, we have two guests, whoop, what happened there?
No idea.
I'm sharing my screen
Oh,
for my next.
okay, so
I think we're good.
we're good, so none on that. All right, so Norm, you're up.
Concom update, Mike Coombs had asked, the last two meetings about the LPP sticker situation. I said that I would try to bring something in for this meeting, which I have. I'll show you, unfortunately, I didn't finish it until today, so I couldn't get it in the package. But I also used this opportunity to do the preparation for the next,
Here she is.
meeting with Suffield on the next contract we have.
Okay,
So here's the information that I put together. First one is determining what is the LPP income. And then from the sticker program. As you can see, we had 370 total boats in Massachusetts. 117 total boats, or I should say motorized vessels in Connecticut for 487. We had a total of 281 docks. 50 lifts, they're free, but we had 50 of them. 40 moorings, 46 swing floats, and 12 buoys. And then I figured this right here, based upon the LPP sheets that everybody submitted. I found out what the ratio was of boat ownership to house ownership, home ownership.
That's a big one.
Okay, and based upon this, 62% of the boats in Massachusetts. It was a 62% ratio for boats to ownership. Okay, and that's mainly because Saunders. Okay, Saunders has 7 boats they pay for, and they're all non-homeowners.
So that's the 40% that direction.
Okay,
Yeah,
and Connecticut, at 83%. So I will use that data later as we go on.
okay.
The next section was from our boat census in late June, early July. And we counted a total of 415 boats in Massachusetts, 178 motorized vehicles and motorized boats in Connecticut for 593. We had 368 total docks, 45 lifts, 7 moorings, 43 swim floats, and 50 buoys.
5 boys.
5 buoys. excuse me.
Five, yeah.
So then you do the math comparing those two, boat census minus stickers, and you can see where we missed. And there's 31 docks in Massachusetts, 56 docks in Connecticut, and that 368 obviously isn't correct, so we'll just leave that right now. And we missed 45 boats in Massachusetts and 61 in Connecticut. And the rest of it's actually peanuts. We did have a minus number here, and I think that's because, you know, we made some errors on what a swim float was versus what a buoy was.
Huh, okay.
Okay, so we'll have pictures for next year's boat inventory.
Hmm.
So then we have our fees. And then the sticker income. Okay, from Massachusetts, we generated a total of $13,599. Okay, and we got $2,800 from the town of Suffield for $16,390. That's the exact same number that Gene has in totaling all the checks were submitted for stickers.
Wow.
Okay, good.
So it matches.
Ties in, yeah.
Okay? So that's the first sheet. That's the income sheet. Now we're gonna figure out the lost income. We'll down the page. Again, the first two sections are the same as you saw on.
Let me ask you a question, Norm, before you go any
Yeah.
further. So on that 16,000, what did it buy us? Anything? Did it give us lake patrols? I mean, isn't that what the money's for?
That's one of the things it's used for.
So what did we spend the money for? again?
Well, I don't know.
Is that what you're gonna show us?
I don't have.
Huh?
I don't have that.
Oh,
Okay. All right, so the first 3 sections are the same. And then we come down to lost revenue. Okay, so if Connecticut had to pay for every boat and every dock, they would have paid, 229,080 for.
2,980.
For
yeah.
docks, 46,064 for boats. For a total of $7,304.
Big number,
Okay,
$5,000.
Suffield paid us 2,800. So I subtract 2,800.
Yeah.
So we lost
On
4,504
that deal.
from the
Yeah.
state of Connecticut.
mhm.
Massachusetts, we lost a revenue of $1,588. For a total loss of 6,000.
Uncollected, in other words.
Uncollected.
Yeah,
We should have collected 22,480.
gotcha.
Okay. Then we have, I tried to figure out what the accuracy was in percent error. And Massachusetts had an accuracy of 86.9%, 13.1% error. Connecticut was 69%, 30% error. And in total, we were 81% and 19%. Now, I believe most of the problems are gonna come from 37 properties in Massachusetts and 61 properties in Connecticut. I have those properties. And those are based upon the fact that they did not submit a LPP.
A form.
Okay, some of them don't have boats or docks, okay, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that that many are in error.
Mm,
Those are the ones that I'm gonna start to try to research. Okay. So I will, next I'll do is set up a meeting with Doug Moglen to get his buy-in on this process so that we can use this when we go to discuss.
Norm, I think it's a wonderful report. Unfortunately, the 22,482 is a hypothetical number because we have a negotiated rate with the town of Suffield at 2,800.
well, that's what he's saying,
Right.
If we can get the ante up on that
Right,
considerably,
right.
then it becomes more of a truer
Right.
picture.
Yep.
You know, I don't look at it as lost revenue because it's not Suffield's fault.
Yeah.
That's the deal that was made at the time between Southwick and Suffield.
Yeah.
They were happy with the 2,800 evidently.
it's money not collected,
Yeah, that's what Doug Vernon.
Well,
So I wanna,
money not billed.
money not billed.
now these two numbers here, which is the boat lost revenue, they are estimates based upon this percentage up here. So we had 45 boats from Massachusetts that were not, nobody paid for.
Mhm.
So I use this ratio to determine how much money came in, or would have come in.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we have to be enforced now, so where are we going with this?
Well, that's why we have to have a meeting.
That's something Norman's
Yeah,
gonna chase.
and Doug said he was gonna take me to the next negotiation with,
Yeah. I think the next time you negotiate with Suffield, you try to come in with
yeah,
an iron fist and say, look at how much you're beating us up here and see if we can get some more money out of
Right.
Suffield. And Suffield's taxes, not this year, but next year, are gonna go way up. For all lakefront owners because of some sales that were made. This is the year of the
Oh,
reval.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And the homes are
they've
going
said
way
they're
up.
not going
Yeah.
up this year, but
But they
next
will
year
next year
because of two
catch up.
properties sold for big money.
Hmm.
I heard LeBar got an offer on his house the other day for 2.1 million.
Hmm.
So, who knows?
Yeah, and that's just that house, not his other house too?
Oh no, it has to go with it.
The other one, but those are still big numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous, ridiculous.
My housekeeper
Okay.
got 1,030,000.
so the rest of the Concom update is. We didn't have a quorum in our last meeting. So
You didn't have a meeting.
Nothing to report.
Okay,
Okay,
I think, getting back to Scotty's question though, of where does the money go? I guess that would be the next question too.
yeah,
I'll have to find out if
I,
that's.
I understand, I understand.
So-
I mean, are we accomplishing anything by saying here, here's 16 grand in the pot? Because I sure didn't see it this year.
you should be able to get a run on that accounting and between, what, accounting. You can also ask Jean how it gets entered, because there'd be, labor. I think some of her time is charged to it for administering it.
Yeah,
So I don't know how much. And then the other thing is to find out, what else goes into that. I know the stickers, they pay, yeah. Those fees pay for the stickers and the, any of the forms and whatnot that have to be made up
yeah,
for the process,
Right.
which it's supposed to. But the other thing is, how much is being spent on, patrols?
right.
And that should be another number because it'll come in from the police department.
I'll
You could put a cost on her time to do all this work too.
Yeah.
To issue all
Oh, yeah.
the things,
No, he's $300 an hour.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
He's making
Well,
money out of
Norm,
it.
that was well done, thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very
Good
well.
job.
Very good.
And if you give me, whatever, after you do the tweaking of it,
Yeah,
I'll include it in the minutes,
okay,
attach it to
okay,
and recirculate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
You are
Okay,
all-
master plan subcommittee, any update?
We did have a meeting, we just discussed a bunch of things, we had some controversy, but, and some of how things were gonna be stated going forward. But other than that, the meeting we were hoping to do late in September is not gonna be early October with the planning board for our presentation. We
Okay,
have them a special meeting, it's just gonna be us and them.
all right, so then maybe the next one will have
Yeah.
an update. Okay,
That's my updates tonight.
alrighty. And then, I did. That sheet that you had circulated, I did include it in here, which was the. I don't know whether you wanted to go over it at all, you had sent me. Regulatory changes, the removal of vegetation was, item 1.1, and then 1.2, provide outreach. Or do you want to discuss that at a future? It was some of the stuff that came out of master plan.
Yes, I,
Want to do that at the next one?
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I'd rather have where you're set to do it.
Yeah.
I just kind of threw it in there in case you wanted to talk about it. All right, next, any
CRC.
CRC?
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle is on, okay. Michelle, CRC?
Hello. Yes, hi. Thank you very much. So I just wanted to mention, people probably heard about the fact that CRC had the board had voted to donate $4,000, up to $4,000 toward dealing with the rope swing and tree issues over on North Pond. Since we voted, there has been pretty significant outcry from the community about that, and people are not happy about the fact that it might be happening. It was a newspaper article, I believe, that really was misleading in terms of what was really the situation. We did not make the decision. We did not advocate for removal of trees. We, however, knew that the police department and Concom were going to be doing it. And since we had funding available, we voted to donate that towards safety on the lake as it's part of our mission. And then people were very displeased. So basically, we thought about it long and hard. We had a meeting and we discussed it further. And we felt that it was fair to allow members to give their input as to whether or not they wanted the funds that are raised on their behalf to whether or not they wanted them to be donated towards that. They felt that $4,000 was a lot of money. And I think people feel like, we're taking away the fun over there. So we voted to put out a vote to our membership and allow them to give the input as to whether or not that's where they want the money to go. So that'll be happening. Within 2 weeks, it will close. I hope to get something out by this weekend so that people can review it. And what we're going to do is, I don't know if we can require, but we're going to ask people to watch a PowerPoint that was very thoughtfully put together. Sabrina Pooler from the Conservation Commission and CPC put together a PowerPoint. She took photos and did measurements. We discussed them at our meeting Tuesday night and showed them to the people that were there in person and on Zoom. But we're going to put that PowerPoint up probably like on our website, or it's going to be attached to an email that goes out to our members. I'm going to ask people to watch it so that they're fully informed as to what it's like over there. I think maybe some people hear about it and think, oh, come on, the kids just want to have fun type of a thing. But when you really look at how shallow that water is over there and how put together the rope swing is, and you look at the tree they're jumping off, which hangs out over the water, it's all it's eroded all underneath the tree there. So at some point, they get 3 or 4 people up on top of that thing hanging out over the water, it's going to go over too.
Wow.
The other thing that we've had is people climbing trees up over top of boats that are sitting there. So if they fell out of that, it's one thing to risk their own safety as a decision that they made, but they could also fall onto people that are sitting in their boats beneath them. When they're jumping off of those things, they're landing just a foot or 2 from people in the water and from people in boats. A lot of people are drinking when they're doing it, including what's pretty much for sure, some underage people drinking and doing that. One of the big things that the police department really wants to drive home, I talked to Chief Landis about it, is there are very, very few calls made to the PD. And I say it every single month at our meetings.
Yeah.
Call the emergency line if you see something that you think isn't right, but if you see something seriously dangerous, you can call 911. But, call the non-emergency line. I called one afternoon, like kind of evening time. People were up on the tree over the lake and they had bottles. They were drinking with bottles of beer. The sheriff's department was there within, I would say, definitely less than 10 minutes, probably like within 5 minutes, to come over and to address the situation. Now, they came in pretty hot, was my opinion when it happened. They addressed it. Half the people, skedaddled immediately. The other ones tried to say, how they pick up and clean up on their own. And they take trash out and they're respectful of the property and they appreciate being there. But there was definitely one who gave the sheriffs a very hard time. And that was extremely upsetting and disappointing to see that when, the sheriffs were merely trying to enforce safety. But I did let Chief Landis know the other thing I noticed was I did not overhear the sheriff say anything to them about the open container law in Southwick. So that would have been another thing that they, could have had in their pocket for that, but they can't really do, I don't think, that kind of enforcement. I think it's just enforcement on the actual lake itself. So I do believe they call into Southwick PD because I did hear sirens as the people were exiting the property. But according to Landis, very few people call about any of these issues. And I think like anything else, we don't want to see trees cut down on that property, but we feel as people, many of us who participated in saving that property, we have a responsibility to protect, how it's being utilized and especially as it impacts the lake and safety. So we feel that ownership of that stewardship that we need to participate in. And so that's what we feel like we're doing. So I'm disappointed with the pushback from the community in regard to it. And, maybe we're going to find that these people are not even actual members of CRC and it's really not going to make a difference. I think our board was very thoughtful in deciding to donate toward that cause. And, it's a hard decision. You don't want to anger people. We rely on people's donations and membership to do the work that we do. So when we hear, so many people saying like, we're going to drop CRC, we're not going to support you guys anymore if you do this, blah, blah, blah. It's upsetting, but we have to toe the line. We have to, by and large, we have to do the right thing at the end of the day. So I'm prepared to do whatever we need to do, but we are going to put the vote out to our membership. And it's gonna go where it's gonna go. We have to represent the people that are putting their funds for it.
Question, Michelle, if CRC doesn't pay for it, I assume then the chief would be looking to fund it with town funds.
Well, that's just it. It's taxpayer money. So, that's what we're going to publicize when we put the piece out to our members. We're going to email people. We're going to put it out on Facebook that this vote's going to be happening. And we're going to give the facts about the situation. As I said, Sabrina's PowerPoint, I think, is pretty compelling. And I'm also going to include some, news footage of, people who have lost their lives thinking they're having a good time. And some of it's pretty shocking and sad. But people need to be about that, that's what's happening. It's one thing to do something that's a little dangerous. It's another thing to be drinking and doing something that's dangerous. So, we're going to follow through and hope it goes the way that we think it will go. But yes, if CRC doesn't fund it, my understanding is obviously the town's going to have to fund it.
Okay.
That'd be a shame. But we also talked to Chief Landis about the possibility of, we're going to get that beautiful boat pretty soon and it'll need a house. And so I'm really hoping, CRC has a substantial amount of funds that we have raised, and I would love to be able to see, after we light the buoys and things like that we said we'll do, we're fine with doing all that. We have 3, by the way, through the channel in the middle of Middle Ponds that are functioning with the blinking ones in the middle. And we're hoping to do the red and the green ones as soon as possible. But once we get that done, we'll still have a substantial amount of funds, and we're hoping to be able to help out with the police boathouse, both by financial donation and then by getting volunteers, if that's the way the department wants to go. By getting volunteers, maybe we can get some skilled craftsmen to help with, the building and the electrical work and all that.
Okay.
And we have our
Sounds
golf
like-
tournament coming up really soon too, if anybody's interested in coming over for dinner or sponsoring
Yeah.
or donating or golfing or whatever. We're coming up real soon.
Is Southwick currently running their police building?
I don't know, dude. I can't say, cause I haven't seen it. I've seen the sheriffs out there a lot. I can't say it, whether I've seen,
Well, they've had a
like-
lot of shortages with people
Personnel.
out with injury and things like that,
Right,
that Landis has told me that he's hoping that's gonna be coming back around now. People are coming off of injury leaves and things, so they're hoping to get more out. But honestly, the sheriffs have been out there a ton. They've been out there
oh,
like
yes.
every day on the weekends, always, and
Even on
they're
some
doing a great
weekdays
job.
too. I've seen them
Yeah,
on hot
weeknights
weeks.
sometimes they're up there. Yeah, they're doing a great job.
But the traffic's been down. I mean, with all the rain we've had. the
Oh, yeah.
traffic's been down the last month and a half.
Yep,
Are they writing any tickets?
I don't know the answer to that.
No,
I've never
no,
seen them stop anybody.
We used to get a list of the tickets. What, is that deal not happening with you anymore?
I haven't seen
Or
anything
you
on it.
used to
Would
get
we
those?
see a list, on that list, would we see ones that the sheriff is writing?
I don't know,
I can
probably
ask.
not. But
I'll
we
ask.
Dick used to get a list every
I'll
year.
ask
I
the
would-
chief.
I've, I've seen the sheriff's boat out,
All the time.
maybe more than I've seen others.
Yeah, they definitely are the ones.
But I don't know,
Nobody from the state.
yeah, nothing from environmental police. They're really short. I mean, they're in the hole for, they have so many retire,
Yeah,
But the sheriff's boat has been out quite a bit.
a lot.
Yeah.
They're out a lot.
Really, it's
Yeah,
been
they
very
make a
good.
presence, but they're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
I see.
I'll find out if they, I'm not sure whether they can
You
issue
have to be
tickets.
on the board.
I'll
The
ask.
sheriff's department can issue tickets. Is that what you're asking?
No, the
the
sheriff, the sheriffs.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
the
believe
sheriffs
they-
can issue tickets on the lake. Yes, they were
Oh.
given, like, whatever that authority Doug is on now, he probably knows this. I mean, I know he knows this. Whatever authority the police officers that aren't like normal employees of the town get, the sheriffs have in regard to that. So they do now have enforcement authority.
Okay,
But are they gonna-
I think
are they
we
gonna write
understand
town
that.
tickets?
Are they actually giving tickets out?
Right.
We're
Yeah.
only- So far, I've only heard about warnings. Jet skis with tubers, you read in the paper, they got a warning, don't do it anymore.
Right.
So are they giving out tickets? That's the question.
And is it a town ticket or is it a state ticket?
they can do either from what I understand.
From what the
Yeah.
chief has told me in the past in conversations, because I've asked that of him, I think primarily they're looking to educate if it's not something like super serious. But I think they are, looking for if there are repeat offenders, then it's a different situation. From what he said to me.
Okay,
I want to thank Michelle for reaching out to the membership. It's been a difficult time. We thought we were doing the right thing on the board. But we've had pushback and she is actually gonna go out to the whole membership and find out what they want to do and move forward. Thanks, Michelle.
yeah,
But
You're welcome. Thank you.
Go ahead, Michelle. I think the pushback is on the fund, not the removal of the tree. Because those people have nothing to do with the removal of the tree.
No,
That's a lake safety, so
they're yapping
the issue
about,
is
yeah.
whether CRC should pay for the removal, is that the issue?
no, they're thinking that CRC, because of that article, that we were in favor of cutting down the tree.
Oh, okay.
But which
That's-
Michelle tried to
That's
clarify.
absolutely what the article sounded.
Yeah, and it's not what Michelle's.
No.
Gotcha.
I hope
Okay.
folks are
Why-
considering.
Why didn't
Could've been fast enough
CRC
either.
why didn't CRC just ask for some of their members to donate some time to cut the limbs or trees down for free?
Town won't let them do it.
The town won't let them do it.
Plus we.
Safety
should
It's
get
town
one.
property.
When it gets hurt. cut
yeah,
down a
it's
tree.
a,
Yeah, you can't go do it.
You
Yeah.
should keep in
Oh,
mind.
so
that when you cut
CRC
that
can't
tree
do it.
down,
You gotta pay a.
you're gonna pay
private
for
guy.
it, some
Right.
professional to do it.
It's gonna do- That's why.
everyone knows that.
Yeah,
That's
Isn't
what's
that
just-
funny?
this
Isn't
seems-
that funny? I can take my building down in Suffield, but I have to sign a whole harmless agreement that I won't sue the town if I
Yeah.
get hurt. So why shouldn't CRC be able to get that same thing? Just sign a whole harmless
Yeah,
agreement.
but Paul's got the idea here, guys. You're gonna put it right on another tree within a day. It's like
gonna
what we're
move right to
doing.
the next tree back.
Right.
What we're doing with the beaver dams is gonna be the same thing. They're gonna have every tree over there with a rope on it.
Just cut the branches.
You're gonna need the PD enforcement there.
Yeah,
Once they start walking down the trail, things will change.
I offered to limb up the trees myself. I was told I couldn't do it.
I get it, but they're just gonna do it. I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, but again,
They'll
we
find
weren't suggesting,
Okay.
CRC wasn't suggesting. cutting
No,
the
I-
trees.
So they're saying CRC's ruining everybody's fun, and that's where you're getting that
Yeah,
reputation.
which
Yeah, I
that's,
get
you
it.
know, that's not us.
Why doesn't the
We
town
didn't
just figure
decide.
this out?
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to save the taxpayer money.
Let's move it
Yeah,
on
let's
because
go
we're
to the
not gonna
next,
solve
let's
it.
go to the next thing, Dick.
The next thing on is, we did receive from DEP the final decision for 141. That's on page 8 and 9 of your handout. And so the town withdrew the
But doesn't tell
Challenge.
you what it is.
the appeal.
What was the appeal? It wasn't stated.
The town withdrew? Yes, yeah. Yeah, because basically it came to an agreement with Mr. Eggleston regarding some reconfiguration
configuration.
of the docks.
Right.
So
Oh,
he
okay.
agreed to do that, and he did do it, and so the town withdrew
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, it didn't state what that was about.
not in this, no,
Yeah,
but
correct.
it
Okay.
was.
Okay,
Okay, you got, on page 10, you got the post-treatment survey summary. Now, try it again. What we will see next will be what they found when they did that treatment survey. They do a map again. And it's not a surprise that the Eurasian water milfoil and curly pondweed, if you read the handout in the last, meeting, I got the input from Ken Wagner, and this is being seen all over, not just the Commonwealth, it's all over the place. Yeah, I mean, there's water bodies all over the country that are being choked with, algae and-
lucky, because, we're staying on top of it. so
Yeah.
that, the algae, we took care of that with the alum, and we're staying on top of it, and then
Yeah.
the weed treatments, we're staying on top of those, and so.
so I
You know, if you
expect
could-
by the next one, we'll probably see the map, because it takes a while for them to plot all that.
One of the things with all the rain we've had, that's caused a fair amount of water exchange.
Yeah,
And I think everybody can see the clarity, is even higher
Really
this
good.
year.
Really, really
The
good.
clarity had improved after we did treatments, but the clarity's even better this year.
It's
And
beautiful.
it's
The last
just-
like 3 days, I was over there
Oh, yeah.
one sunny day and at the end of my dock,
Yeah,
which
you're
is
seeing
5
the
feet.
bottom.
yeah,
It's 5 feet
see the
deep.
bottom
You see
clearly.
bottom Clear,
Yeah.
and even out by my buoy, you can, I mean,
Yeah.
and almost 10 feet deep. You can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, it's just,
It's
we,
incredible.
when we first get the rain, then the clarity goes down from the
But once it
mix.
settles,
But it settles and we're getting more water exchange. We're not having a year detention, which is
Yeah.
our normal detention time, so it's good.
We've just had a lot of crabgrass this year that we
Yeah.
don't normally get.
I'm getting
All
it
the
too. I'm
rain.
getting a lot of it.
A lot of
And,
crabgrass.
Because you
and
got
of
more
course,
sun.
we've lost a bunch of weekends.
Yes.
Exactly.
all right, so on pages 11 and 12, you've got the stats. Diane Gale had asked that I
Yep.
get the numbers for the
Yep.
ramp launches, so that's what you see on there.
Yeah, that was good.
And then, so then the next thing coming up is the wake boats. And well, they wound up being out of order because I started to put in, send this, insert part of that wake boat information, but then the file got to be too big to email.
Ken did a nice, what I'd recommend is
That's,
people
everybody
read.
read Ken's summary,
Ken did a nice job of summarizing it, and it's
pages
sort of,
13 and 14.
it's sort of interesting because kind of what the data says is that, the impact distance from shore, basically 15 feet deep and 400 feet from shore
Mm,
is best, but that's true for all boats. So it was interesting. Statements about distance from shore claim that impact of wakeboards at a distance of 400, 600 feet is not negligible, only that it is no worse than other motorboats.
right, right.
So that's surprising. I actually, and I'm a guy with a wake boat, and
Yeah.
I actually would have thought that it would have been worse, but the data says no.
Mm,
It's, once you're offshore a distance, it's no different from any other, from any
one of
other
the things, I don't know
motorboat.
if anybody else has seen it, but I've seen a lot of boaters, some really bad things going on this year, and I
Yeah.
think it's, again, we'll get into it with the boating safety. But, people, going the wrong direction,
It's always happened, Jim.
but also I have seen numerous people skiing and tubing where the skier or the tuber is about 20 feet off the ends of a dock.
Yeah,
And all you need is a little wiggle and you're toast. You know,
Yeah, that's a, each
that's
year,
stupidity,
so there's
illegal and stupidity.
well, I mean, one of the user sites that I participate in for Malibu Boat Brand, there, every year, there'll be a story about somebody,
Splat.
well, and sadly enough, it always pretty much always results in death.
Hmm,
And it's almost always a parent or grandparent and it's their kid.
well,
Because basically they've got them on a tube. They're taking them around a whip.
yep.
They want to drop them off right out in front of their property there and they just
And they
misjudge.
let 'em-
and they hit the dock.
Well, they misjudge the length
Yeah.
of the tube rope
Yeah,
and run the
Put 'em
tube
right against
into the
the dock.
dock at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it happens all the time.
And
Yep.
it's like, you have to be further away.
yeah,
I had one a week ago where I ran down to the beach because I see a guy in a boat holding his wife and kid, young kid,
Yeah,
in a tube,
yeah.
and he's the only guy in the boat.
Hmm.
So no observer.
Spotter, yeah.
So I jump in my Sea-Doo and run across, I'm flagging down, right? He finally stops. And I say to him, do you realize what you're doing? He said, besides the safety issue, I said, you get caught, $500 fine, man. He actually said to me, oh, I know, but I'm only gonna do it a few times.
Yeah. That's the way it is.
Right? Well, I must have got through to his wife though,
Yeah.
because the next thing I know, the wife's in the boat with him and the kid's on the
Kids on the
tube by
tube.
herself. I must have, but earlier what you said, I've seen so many people this year going the wrong direction around the lake.
yep.
Yeah,
It amazes me. And before 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays
yeah.
and
I
Sundays.
see it every
I
Saturday.
see 'em every
In our lake.
Saturday and
And
Sunday.
those are residents
Water
because
And sometimes
Right,
fishermen,
nuts.
oh, they're.
there's a few
They're
fishermen
coming
too, but
from whatever, they're coming down and Sea-Doos.
Oh,
before
yeah.
10 o'clock in the
Yeah, all
morning,
the time.
racing,
Flying.
and I'm saying, these are people that they're coming from the ramp area.
They are.
North ramp.
The
coming my
ramp
way.
should tell, can you guys
They
tell
do,
them when
they
they
get-
come in? You,
yeah.
you can't go fast before 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Cause they're skiing at 8:30 on southbound.
yeah,
And it drives me crazy because I wanna go skiing. Eric and I sit over in the corner at 10 minutes to 10,
Right.
sitting there BS and we're both
Waiting.
in different,
Right,
waiting
yeah.
till 10
Right,
o'clock.
waiting, going.
We're both waiting and then you see these
Well,
jet skis.
fly
So
by.
What I'll do is, I'll be in the water, my hand's on the handle, my
He's
wife's
ready to
got her
go.
hand on the.
okay.
Yeah, 10,
Yeah,
It's
we all did
crazy.
that.
10:00.
I know.
All right.
But,
Go ahead.
one of the things which I've often wondered with regard to safety and in particular safety in water sports. I would be happy to give a class in it, what have you, so long as I wasn't getting a personal liability for it. But
Well, I think you're gonna like what's coming up. Yeah,
cause
That's
one of,
kind of
like,
being addressed in-
one of the things that I've constantly tried to teach people on the lake is when there's a boat that's pulling a tube or a skier, do not follow the boat.
right, right.
Because if that tube loses a person,
You're
you
gonna-
may not see that
Right.
person until you've hit them.
Yep.
And it's, so we'll do,
And
where,
you see the personal watercraft zooming back and forth between, I've even seen it happen before where they've gone across a rope that for what's being towed legally, and they go straight across in between the boat and the tuber.
yeah, I mean, there are plenty of times where my wife is, chop the throttle, with me back there and I sit
Yeah.
in the water and then she's kind of flagging the boat and we're going, don't follow us.
Right,
You go over there,
yeah,
don't
I
follow us.
watched them at the town beach doing like donuts around the tubers.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
something
yeah,
gonna happen.
we've seen it all.
And,
Yeah.
and in
We've seen
many
it.
cases, yes, there are people who are gonna be careless, but in many cases, it's just people don't realize, in other words, there've been people where we've shared with them, here's why we don't want you following us, and then they're like, oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
They
And we
just-
haven't-
they
and
didn't
we
think
have
of the
not
fact
had
that, yeah. a
environmental
tuber
police have
kicks
not
people
had
out.
any classes here it was before COVID that they
Yeah.
stopped. They kind of ran out of
Mhm.
people to teach, because I used to do a segment for every one of them. And I would say it's been 5 years now, at least.
Mhm.
And they don't have the personnel right now to do it. But we'll get to the thing that I emailed out, which is kind of part of this whole discussion. I don't know if you want to have any more discussion on weight coats, with, you have a
Well, you
big
got
handout
three
there.
people on the committee here that have them.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing is, they obviously do, I mean, I see the waves coming up on my beach and they did do a lot of damage.
So I think that,
The
the
erosion
nice
is brutal.
thing is,
I get
nice
it.
thing is he's got the studies here, and then what I'd recommend is read Ken's summary
Yeah,
of the studies.
I get it, but I mean, there is
But
some
at-
kind
but
of,
at 100 feet, they
But,
are, which is what
absolutely.
they are here.
yeah, which they
putting
are,
out
they're
big
putting
waves.
out
Yeah, you
huge
get-
waves. They're rolling on both sides of my beach and both my neighbors bitch about them, but I have one.
Yeah.
So, and I don't use mine and my brother doesn't use his,
Yeah.
but they do. I
And-
mean, they could put up some big waves. I mean, there's no
And one
doubt.
of the things is to try and stay away from the shore.
stay more towards.
I
the
tell
middle.
people, just stay in the middle,
Right.
go down and come back in the middle. I try to keep you, because they do, I mean, they're unbelievable. I can see everything moving at my dock.
Well, if you
where I
read,
am.
if you read some of the stuff that, in the many pages that, from Vermont and from Connecticut,
Yeah, they're saying 1,500 feet with some of these things in Vermont. I saw.
Especially in
Which is
high
not
water,
possible.
Come on now.
Yeah,
you
oh,
crossed
yeah.
the Lake,
more problems,
more problems,
High
high
water.
water. Oh,
high
yeah.
water,
yes.
Yeah,
like this summer, all summer.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been pretty good with it. I
Yeah,
gotta tell you,
we haven't been high, we've been on.
been on, man.
yeah,
We
we're
got
not
that-
high.
We just
We're
wiped
not
out two
high.
beaver
We're-
dams.
We weren't high, we were up to 224.8,
But
Yeah, for,
224.9.
we got high for about a week.
we wish we were
Well,
high.
We basically
hovering.
been on.
I kinda wish I was high right
We've
now.
been within an inch of nominal from.
Put that in the
entire
meeting.
year. We have the data, we've been within an inch of nominal.
some
from
data
the entire
to-
year.
Let's stay focused.
Let's keep going, guys.
All right.
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Next.
good with the
All
wakeboard.
right, so the one that's, I thought was pretty interesting, and I just got it, and it's on our agenda, which is the lake safety that we've been talking about so many
Licensing.
times, and licensing, and, water safety. And the Senate,
What page is it on, Dick?
no,
It's,
it's
it's a
the handout that I,
Oh, the separate one, okay.
yeah, I gave you
I got
separate,
it.
and I emailed it to
Yeah,
everybody.
I got it, so.
What's very interesting is that they are,
Okay.
Nice, more than welcome.
Finally waking up.
yeah, let's keep one meeting. The Senate bill, number 536 here that you have a copy of, is going to, if you read it, is again implementing a licensing in effect. They're calling it, a certificate. Call it whatever you want, but what they're saying is you have to have it, and they have age limits where you can't operate. They have types of boats. The other thing that they really didn't get into, and we've kind of had some of this discussion before, Connecticut has I believe, and I don't know maybe Scotty, or one of you guys said, no, there's more familiar with the Connecticut one. They have something in there, right, in Connecticut, where if you've been boating for X number of years, or you're over a certain age or something, you don't have to get
Your
your
grandfather, basically.
grandfather.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes back a long ways,
Yeah. So
really long ways.
really long ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not, if you've been boating for 2 years, you're okay.
No, not if you've been voting for 30 years. It goes back to before Connecticut had the license.
Oh,
So, no,
Interesting.
pretty much everybody has to.
okay.
And you need a water skiing endorsement for towing water skiers, wakeboarders.
Well, so what would be really good is we don't have to read it now, because we just got it. And, so we're being asked, John Vilas asked for our comments. And so that's a good comment.
Yeah,
And so please send your comments to me individually, and we'll, I'll collect them. And that was one of the things that I saw, was that there's a lot of it's not mandatory for everybody. It's trying to give some outs.
Mhm.
And if we're looking really for safe boating, it's like driving vehicle. You can't go out and buy a car and then go out and you have no license, you don't register the vehicle, you have no insurance. You say, well, I'm just gonna go for a short ride. You know,
Yeah, so I think it would be easy to model it on the Connecticut one.
yeah,
And I'd recommend if they're gonna do that to have cross-state reciprocity. Because there's an economic impact. In other words, we wanna be able to have boaters come to the town.
yes,
And if they've got a license from New York, they should be able to boat in Connecticut. And, most of the states have reciprocity.
because they have for driver's licenses and do
Right,
the same thing.
Right, so they have the boater's license there, and like New Hampshire, when they put that in years ago, they immediately had reciprocity. I had a Connecticut license that was good in New Hampshire.
Good, good.
And a New Hampshire license is good in
Because
Connecticut.
a boating license is easier to get than a driver's license. because
Yes.
You don't do an actual test.
Right.
You don't do a driving test.
No?
Yeah.
You just do a written test.
Right.
And I can tell you, that my granddaughters, when they were 11 and 12, passed their boating test
Yeah.
in Connecticut.
Both my kids got them at like
At
12.
Asnatuck
Yes.
Community College.
They're easy, it's,
It was simple.
I agree, it's better than nothing.
Yes,
It's
bingo.
better than nothing, yes. It saved
Because
one life.
too many-
It made
I
sense.
don't know about, I think we've talked about this so many times at meetings, but what we are all seeing, because, we live on Congamon, we see it every day, and the number of people, and post-COVID, one of the things that I think has been a marked increase in zoo, boating zoo.
but not this year as much.
This year hasn't been that bad.
No, I'm talking about behavior,
Oh,
not
yeah,
numbers,
because of the
behavior.
rain, yeah, because most
The
of it-
lack of good, of boating etiquette and what you should do and shouldn't do, and,
Well, a huge number of boats were sunk
yeah,
during
During COVID
During
times.
COVID.
Yes.
and an
Now the
enormous
market's
number of boats
reversed.
were sunk.
yeah,
Now the market's reversed, dealers are stuck with inventory again.
Exactly.
It's
And
over.
prices are gonna
It's
come
over
down.
for- It's over for two reasons, the economy and people not being able to make payments again, and the big one, 8% money to borrow,
oh,
to
yeah,
buy a boat.
Yeah.
And one more thing, gas prices.
and gas prices,
Gas prices,
Exactly.
sure. I mean, I speak to dealers all the time, and I was with Petzold just a week or two
Yeah.
ago. And he says, Scotty, 2-3 years ago, everything I have is sold,
Yeah,
not the.
No,
space
not the
now.
case.
Even
but Dick,
some-
we've been fighting, we've been pushing for this for 20 years.
oh, yeah,
For 20 years, so I
Yeah.
think I don't know what we wanna do as far as beating a dead horse on this. I think we just say we
they're
want
looking
it.
for comments, they're looking for comments
Okay.
on what they're
And we
proposing.
just,
Yeah, and
because
I-
we don't need to do, I don't
My-
think anymore, just copy all the letters you've done and send it to them or whatever you
And,
need.
Right.
and I think the commentary would be, there's no reason to invent a new wheel. Right over the border in
That's a good
Connecticut, Connecticut's got
And they've had it,
And use it.
right, they've had it for a long time, just copy it.
yeah,
Program works. Right,
But
Yeah.
even take their manual and copy
Hey,
it.
but here's the difference though, in Connecticut, like on the river, they enforce it.
Yeah.
Where's?
Oh, yeah, no, you can
Where's
hold up.
our enforcement?
Well, you gotta enforce it, that's the other.
yeah,
No, when I've been on the river in Connecticut, I've been asked to see my license before, I'm doing anything, just,
Yeah.
and he didn't stop, I didn't get stopped.
He
But
just
when I
wants
was
to-
stopped getting fuel, for example, just came by, I was like, oh, it was jet ski, you got a license for that? Can I see it? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, same thing in New Hampshire, of course, I had an out of state, I had a Connecticut.
And they looked
jet ski
for-
up in
they
New
wanted to see
Hampshire,
it.
And the guy said, hey, you didn't stop me, it's just, I was stopped, he came by, oh, you got a license? Can I see it? Yeah, okay.
And Lake George, you pay extra money for their registration,
Hmm.
one
Yeah, to
day,
go on the.
7 days.
so anyway, so we can kind of wrap this up, just, any comments, give them to me. Collect them all, and then at the next meeting, we'll go over everything, make sure we're all on the same page, but at least we'll have one set of comments that we can send back to, our legislators.
Yeah, tell them thank you, we'd love.
Oh, yeah, when I saw that, I sent it back, you can see the
Yeah.
note I sent
Yeah, I
back,
saw.
and, really, thank you, been trying for a long time. Like you said, we've been pushing for this for 20 years, talking about it. Because we're one of very few states in the country that don't have any kind of license requirements for boaters. We're down to, there's probably fewer than 10 now states that don't require some form of license for boating. And we're one of the 10.
So, okay, so.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
Nope.
I'm
That's
sure
great.
CRC would like to include a letter of support for that as well, if you queue us up.
Love
on-
to have it.
Will we do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Please circulate it.
Yes,
And seek, if you would, Michelle, seek comments from other people, because you've got a lot of voters on CRC. And
we do.
and they have good eyes and they see problems. And we're hoping that finally Massachusetts joins other states and gets this legislation moving.
The lake safety, the PWC thing, two things that
Yeah.
I found in talking to people. Number one, a lot of people, obviously at night, not allowed to operate a PWC at night.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that. And even more people don't know the law is half an hour within sunrise, sunset.
Right.
They just don't know. And towing tubers. In Connecticut, you can tow a tuber
On a
with a
personal
jet
water.
ski.
Okay.
In New Hampshire, you can tow a tuber on a jet ski.
Huh.
You cannot, it's not legal in Massachusetts. A
I
lot of
think
people
you
just
have
don't
to have
know
an
it.
observer though, look, supposedly turn around the other way.
On that.
Say that
I
again?
think you're supposed to have an observer turned
Yes,
around.
yes, you're
to watch
required.
Watch
Yes.
that skier.
So you need a
Yes.
2-person
No, you need a 3-person.
or a 3-person.
The
Right, because
requirement
you have
is-
to have a place for the person.
Right,
that's
you have
There's a
to-
twist to it.
Right. you-
That's a
you
big
have-
one.
You have to have a 3-person PWC. You have to have an observer who's turned around backwards watching.
And a place for the one that
And
you're towing.
a place for the rider.
Hmm.
But in New Hampshire and in Connecticut, I don't know Vermont, but I happen to know those two, you're
Oh.
allowed to tow a tuber. You are not in Massachusetts.
Interesting.
Which actually sees that person fall off faster than somebody in a regular boat, because a
Sure.
lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
Two parties are looking forward.
They're
You
both
know,
right,
he
exactly.
fell
always
off
look 'em
half
in-
an hour ago.
By the
Yeah,
way,
right.
Dick,
So some of it may
going
just
in,
be
let me just
education.
tell you something on this PWC thing. Going into North Pond, it does not say jet skis. I was going down there last week and I was watching people go in with jet skis into there
Says
because
big
it's,
sign, no PWCs.
they don't know what that means. They kept going to us.
That's part of the
It
problem
says
with,
personal watercraft. They
Right.
don't know what it means.
that's the
That's why
name.
they've had 2 or 3 times in the last week or two.
And it's really the
We have a
truth,
lot of-
because
You should put in
jet skis were-
parentheses, jet skis.
jet ski is a.
Cause the guy went like this to us when we yelled at him. And we pointed at it and he kept going like this to us.
But that's part of the problem is education. In other words, if you went to a class, you would find
But
out,
if he's not educating and he doesn't give a shit. and he
Well,
can
maybe we
barely
need to
speak
change the
English.
sign and say no PWCs or jet skis.
Yeah, but I agree, you know, and Sea-Doos and, you know.
you name all the different
Jet-
names.
But the thing is, if you put PWC and then put in parentheses jet skis, these guys seriously,
But see,
there were
those are
2
part
guys
of that
that did not
class.
know.
Yeah.
But they don't know.
Yeah, but
They don't know what a
the
jet, everybody
ability-
says jet ski. They don't care if it's a
That's because we've
Sea-Doo.
been saying jet skis for 30 years.
Right.
Exactly.
Everybody
They don't
says
know the
jet ski.
difference. They don't
I
know it's a
say jet ski,
Yamaha or
my
jet ski.
They
How
don't
we're
know
talking.
what
Plus, then they can't
Yeah.
say, I don't.
Personal
Right.
watercraft.
Yeah.
Personal watercraft does not do it.
Yeah.
A personal watercraft could be a boat to these guys.
Right.
And it
But-
Well,
mostly is. a
personal
boat.
watercraft, if you go
It's a
read,
boat.
Right.
Yeah, no,
They don't read
there's
that.
no
They don't
question
read
that we are technically accurate.
right,
That's not the
But
question.
you're using an engineer's brain when you should be using a regular guy's brain.
Yeah.
Jet ski is
You
what
gotta put
everybody
down
calls it.
their
But
I
level.
have a jet
but
ski.
then you're also gonna have to list a Sea-Doo.
No, you don't.
Why?
No, you
Cause
don't.
everybody
That's a
calls my
PWC.
Sea-Doo a jet ski. Everybody
They're
calls a
all
Yamaha a jet
jet
ski.
skis.
They're all jet skis.
They're all
He's
jet
right. In other
skis.
words, the vernacular. the
Do you call it a
vernacular-
motorcycle or do you go out there and say, that's a
Kawasaki,
BMW 1200? Or do you say that's a motorcycle?
Any jet driven boat that you
Right,
ride.
jet
right,
ski.
and
And
it's even
even
those,
day
it's
one
even
was
those
a jet
other, it's even those other jet
So-
boats, you know, that are,
So I
what do you wanna
think,
call 'em?
you know, so potentially we can adjust the sign to make that.
I'm just telling you, guys in North Pond are getting hit with guys coming through all the time.
On a lot
They're
of
in there
big
going
ones
one
that-
after the other.
But again, if they gave out tickets to anybody that shows up,
And they'd say, what is that? It says personal watercraft. That's a boat. They don't get it.
They don't
I'm
get
telling
it.
you, they
at
don't
the
get it.
fine, you will know.
I know, but you gotta tell them it's a jet ski, a jet ski. They go, it's a jet ski.
Question.
I-
do you
Anyways,
think-
let's go on,
do you think
move
it
on.
would be valuable to put on the sheet that gets handed out at the ramp?
They don't read it.
No,
It goes in
No.
the trash
Yeah.
Or on the
or
ground.
on the ground.
Is that what they do with it?
Yeah, they throw them on the ground.
I believe that, because when I question people, they say they just
I
launched their
can't even
boat. And I'm saying,
stand it.
doesn't anybody hand you anything? Yes, they do. Well, don't you read it? No,
No,
no surprise.
I was gonna say this to the end of the meeting, last Friday or Saturday. I got out of my truck and I see a jet ski go through the cove 40 miles an hour,
Yeah.
right through the no-ways.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
even better, yeah.
I go call the police department. The dispatcher. He was nice, but I think we've got an issue in dispatch, and the guy was willing to help, and I don't wanna see him
Oh,
get
really?
any trouble for it. But I asked him, I says, do we have a police boat in the water? He says, maybe. Okay, I mean, I get it. They may not account for the police boat
But
on the
dispatch is
dispatch.
up in Westfield, she just said,
Right.
that's why.
right.
Exactly.
They don't care.
So, okay, he's out of town. He can't see, he doesn't know. And then I said to him, I says, it's right through the no-wake zone, 40 miles an hour.
So what's a no wake
He says, well,
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
we don't do that. I went, wait a minute. He says, no, we don't do that. He goes, that's the sheriff's department.
No, that's-
Oh, wow.
So he doesn't
Well,
know.
It was a dispatcher that hasn't had any experience with it.
Right.
And he was doing the best he could.
Right.
He said, well, I'll pass it along. And I checked with the sheriffs the next day, and he did pass it to
Oh,
the
that's
sheriffs.
good.
So at least they heard about it.
Mm, good.
But he didn't know if the boat was in the water, number one, number two.
He didn't realize that
Southwick
we do
PD
enforce
enforces that.
enforcement.
Yeah, but
You know, which brings me to,
Can I ask
we
a
talk about
question?
docks
Yeah.
and funds and money. You gotta be aware that the sheriff is gonna come for that money someday.
Yeah,
They're gonna want some of that money.
yeah.
I
If they're
mean,
patrolling.
Maybe they're entitled to it.
I'm not gonna be the guy that tells them to look into it,
Yeah.
okay?
Karen has a question.
And Norm had
When you
one.
say about no voting after a certain hour,
Right.
the ramps aren't closed, so they're still
No,
going in and
it's not-
launching
it's
boats.
Not, no, it's the, you can't go,
PWCs do not have lights.
they're not
Well,
allowed.
Okay,
be-
but they're
and be-
still going in the water.
Okay,
They
so,
still drive in.
right, and so PWCs do not have lights. And so
They're not allowed.
they should not be launching
Right, but if,
at dark.
Nobody's there. to
yeah, but
stop.
nobody's there to
nobody
stop them.
Right, of course.
We stay there till 7 o'clock at night. I mean, how much more can you
Yeah,
stay
no,
there?
no, look, you're,
No, but I'm just trying to
The
find
only
out,
way it'll happen is if they get tickets while they're out there.
Yes.
and who's gonna be out there at night?
You need the enforcement.
Legally, they can
It's not
operate a
gonna stop.
boat a half an hour after sunset.
No, half an hour, but with
Before.
PWCs, it's a
Before.
half hour before
Before.
sunset and a half
Oh,
hour
really?
after sunrise.
Right,
Yes.
they're tighter window.
PWCs because they have no lights.
Well, when nobody's
Interesting.
there, it's a
Yes,
free
So
flow.
they're
yeah.
putting it in
That's
late at
Connecticut
night in the
law?
dark?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
oh, yeah.
That is a Massachusetts law.
That's law.
That is a mass
It-
law.
There's
I
gotta
think
be a way to
Connecticut's the
stop
same.
that.
And then, and the other thing that they're doing, I forget who was talking about it, that over at, I guess over at Babs,
Yeah.
that they're,
But if nobody's
a whole
there,
bunch of them
let 'em
are
stop.
hanging around Babs Beach, cause it's closed.
Yeah.
And they use that to take off and have, you know, a whole bunch of people lined up on the shore, you know, and they go right to dark and then some.
And Babs is closed already.
And Babs is closed already.
for the
And
season.
Town Beach
Hope
is
these-
closed
one
and
guy
they're
started
probably
up
going
with a
out to there
flashlight.
too.
Been closed.
I
Yeah.
think Norm had a question too, guys.
Yeah.
He did.
I just gotta make a statement, if you decide to change the sign, for personal watercraft, put a picture on it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Oh,
true.
good
Yeah,
idea.
make it obvious.
Big,
Yeah.
big sign.
How many ways do we spell this?
Yeah,
No, you know what? You're right. The picture might even be better than saying jet ski. PWC.
Yeah.
No, it's a good
It means
idea.
This.
Good idea. Put it up there.
But it also, by the way, the law also
Stand up.
includes jet propelled boats. You know, the ones that are
Yep.
the,
the small
Yamahas
ones.
and those.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
truck. It's the
No,
same.
wait.
It's not, it's not,
Wait a second.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think that's
jet,
true.
no,
If you're-
jet boats are allowed in
If
their
it's considered a boat, it's allowed.
It even says
yeah,
it in.
right.
If
And
it's a
but,
boat,
but
it's
some are
allowed.
not considered boats.
Right.
Right.
Well, some of them suck it out of the front, push it in the back, the old ones did.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
still doing that?
No,
The big ones?
jet boats are allowed.
Yeah,
As long as it's a boat.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, but not a
Next.
PWC. Yeah.
Next.
yeah.
Okay,
And
so that, so I think I think there's a combination of education in some cases and enforcement.
yeah,
But like some of the things I was bringing up are education, just people not knowing, no, a half hour on either side, you can't operate a PWC. And if people have asked me why, I said, no lights.
I know that
That's
when
nice.
Roger Arduini Senior, who was,
Great.
patrolled until he became the colonel of EPOs, then he couldn't patrol anymore, but he used to sit out there and you'd see him, you see the blue light and,
All the
and
time.
pick them off at night
When I was a
when they
kid.
were speeding.
So so I think there's.
And it wasn't a slap on the wrist.
So I think that's on the PWCs, the education regarding towing tubers is another one where in many cases, they just don't know, especially if they come from a state where it's allowed, like Connecticut, and then they come here. If they haven't read they have to read the Massachusetts building law. And they come here and go,
They're not doing that.
but I know I can go tubing
You
and
haven't seen a
so they
lot of
just
it.
don't
I
know.
really haven't. seen
I don't see a lot of it.
They got something
And then
on also.
the nighttime speeding,
I see a lot of it.
that's not an education thing, that's an enforcement thing. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
Yeah,
Right.
right, that's why it's not an
Complete
education,
stupidity.
it's just stupid.
You're gonna
Steve,
run somebody in half.
And you see many boaters
Oh.
out there, not just PWCs,
Oh,
but
yeah.
boaters out there
Yeah.
with no lights
Oh,
on,
flying down there.
40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour in the dark.
We were
Pitch
spoiled for years. Arduini took total control of this lake.
Yeah,
Everybody obeyed 90% because he didn't fool around. He might give somebody one chance.
and after that,
And after that,
You gotta
that's
take
it,
it.
he throw the book at you.
yep,
And believe me, and I could speak, an Al Gendron, shouldn't say that name.
Yeah.
Al Gendron, he used to race up and down the lake with the big.
How about the
big boat he
Heberts?
had and
You know
this
the
and that and
Heberts?
lot-
Yeah.
And what
He had them all on the list.
How many times can you afford to pay a ticket?
Yeah.
And then guess what? It's all over. So all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
since he's off the lake, it's been all downhill for years. Really,
Yeah.
has. Really.
So enforcement.
He was a guy, you weren't around during that time, I don't think. Oh, he was like, huh, he did what he's supposed to do.
yeah.
And he didn't need another person in the
No.
boat with him. He didn't need any of the above. He'd be
Okay.
sitting there shooting the baloney next to me on a pontoon boat. He said, gotta go. Off you go and
Yeah.
grab somebody.
He'd hide off in a cove.
Okay, so
I say
just trying to
something.
move it.
Yeah, anything else?
Yeah, let's go.
So we've got, the mass boating license we talked about.
Yep.
Overcrowding and anchoring. Actually, again, this year's been a bit better, I would say. Maybe it's been the weather.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
There's
you know,
nothing compared to
You
last
know, I
year.
mean, you do still see some, what I have to refer to as stupid anchoring. Where you're like, okay, yes, legally you can anchor there.
But that's not,
Is that a really smart place to anchor?
no.
You do run into that. What's up with the boathouse?
The boathouse, Brad Fisk, Sergeant Fisk, has updated the design. He's got some more to do because, Doug Cameron, the director of OFBA,
Yep.
suggested that they make the footprint of the boathouse larger so that you've got more room inside to walk around on a deck. And you can work on the boat, you can get on board inside. And if the way we envision it is it'll be a couple of rails, like you would have for a train, but going down to the water to concrete pads like our ramp used to be, was the concrete pads. We've got a pretty good stockpile of those. And it's all has to be permitted in order to do this, but this is what we envision, is that there's a sled that you actually use. It's a commercially available item. And so the boat, the police boat would pull up onto the sled, which has just like the bed of a trailer. So you pull up onto it in the water, you go inside into the building, press a button, and the winch will pull it up into the building and store it there. You shut the garage door and it would stay there the entire boating season, available 24/7. And that's what they want to have is,
How long does it take to put it in? How long does it take to put it in the water?
The ones that I've seen,
Gravity.
it's. a
Yeah,
couple
gravity
minutes.
is what gets you in. Coming out is a little
It's couple
slower.
minutes, because basically it's a set of rails.
So it's gonna come right down.
It's
Yeah.
a set of rails,
I'm just
And,
thinking
you
if
know,
you call them,
yeah,
they wanna go in.
Yeah, they don't have to go, right now, what they have to do is they have to go to the station. Hitch the trailer up to
I
a
know.
cruiser, bring
Yeah.
it down, launch it, you know.
Yeah. an hour's gone by.
An hour's
Yeah.
going by the time you get out. This way, probably 10 minutes at worst case,
No, I'm just wondering, okay.
you know.
That'll be.
And we're
very good.
looking at putting a dock next to it so that they can come in, swap out personnel. Or if they have to get something out of the building, because they're gonna be able to store things in that. There'll be a man door on the side and a garage door on the lake end.
So when do we think this will get built?
They're hoping that they can do something for next season.
Okay.
It's funny because, when the chief and I were talking about it today out back here. And he's gonna see if he can find somebody that will actually do the permitting for them, volunteer to do the actual permitting. You need some drawings. He's got the drawing that Brad Fisk has put, which is good. That will be submitted to the state for them to give us the land, use of the land. That's already a given. There is no problem there. All they were waiting for is the final drawing saying, we want yay by yay, and the building's gonna be about yay by yay. And so we're gonna be looking for about 50 feet down to the water, and the location is when you come into the road, those first 3 short spaces on the right-hand side. Behind those is a green door where the pump is.
Yeah,
That pump will go into the building. And that building will sit right there and go right down to the
So
water.
that's terrific. That'll be a big help.
Oh, yeah.
in being able to get enforcement going next year.
Yeah.
It won't restrict passage to the.
No, not at all,
That's a good spot for it.
not at all.
So, okay, that sounds great. The Beaver Hut?
That's private, that's not us. That's up to the owner of nothing that we can do,
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
Grillo,
I mean,
isn't it?
it's Grillo.
I mean, because we went around with the
Frank and those
conservation,
guys.
several years ago. we had this
Conservation has
lined
told
up.
them they have to seek the permits and everything.
They have not submitted any.
And they have not submitted anything, right?
Okay.
He's losing 2 slips because.
But something's a little strange, because years ago, we had this all lined up and Conservation Commission said no. This time,
They're
he's
saying-
got information and Conservation Commission said, we have no authority. You have to go talk to the state.
Yeah,
That's what happened. Conservation Commission has not said submit permits. They said, we have no.
but
authority."
they did tell them, they do have to file to do it.
Sure, but the problem was, because, somebody there asked me about it before they had sold it. It was, yeah, and we have no idea who you even applied to. We sure you need to apply. We don't know who you apply to. We don't think it's us. So,
But they do have to apply to conservation,
Yeah, but conservation said, we don't have the
I'm telling you, I
authority.
sat in the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
because it seems like
And it's
somebody ought
up
to give them
to,
a clean
it's
answer.
not gonna be the town that's gonna use town funds to remove
Sure.
them. It has to be the owner of the land.
Okay.
All right.
It just seems like it would be, yes, it would be helpful to the
And he was,
marina, and it would be helpful to safety.
Oh, yeah.
Because then they would rotate the docks.
and he
that
wants
way
to
and
do
give us
it,
a
but,
clear
and,
shot.
and his original intention was to do it in time for this
Right.
year's voting season, 2023, but he
Right.
couldn't get all that paperwork lined up.
Yeah. I'm just saying, the reason why I'm bringing it up for LMC is I think it's a lake safety improvement.
Yes, it is. Absolutely agree.
Because with those gone, he can rotate the docks over, which he said he
Gives-
would be very happy to
And that
do.
gives more
And then we've got-
visibility going through into North Pond.
Right.
Which is a hassle.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so so that's why I think it's worth us talking about and.
We've
supporting.
been trying to help him with it, but he has to, it's, the responsibility is to the owners, to
Sure.
Grillo.
Didn't he
Sure.
trap earlier in the season?
I do not know.
We believe he did.
And the rumor has it that, they found activity again, and
Yes.
he was not able to remove
Yeah, once, yeah, there's,
Right.
with
there's
that.
certain times when you can and
And there
can't.
was a rumor floating around somebody poisoned the beavers for there too. So,
No,
who knows?
But there's no problem, there are licensed trappers in the state of Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
Who can trap beavers. There are way too many beavers. The state very much would like you to trap them, so,
okay, anything else on
no.
any other?
And we heard about the buoy lights.
Scotty wants to talk about something.
Yeah.
I'll mention something before Scotty, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Starting tomorrow. Life vest, canoes, kayaks. And paddleboards. September 15th is the date that life vests are required.
You thought they already were.
no, September 15th.
Wearing them. Not in them. Oh, wearing.
Because
Wearing,
Put it
them,
on
not,
paddleboards,
not just sitting on.
Kayaks and canoes.
Really?
Yep. Tomorrow's the date.
I didn't know, and meaning that's a time of year thing or all?
September 15th.
Ah.
And what is it, May 15th?
To May 15th.
After
Ah.
May 15th, because of the.
But the funny thing is the water's
No, I didn't
warm.
know that.
It's because of cold water.
I
the
wear it
water's
anyway,
warm.
but I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah,
If you're a fisherman, you know that.
Yeah, okay.
right.
But,
Uh-oh,
go ahead,
Scotty,
go
you
ahead.
have a lot of stuff there. You better.
No, it's only
I wear
gonna
them
take me
anyway,
5
but I
minutes.
sure know plenty of people who don't, but,
Yeah.
okay.
At the end of my little speech here, I'd like to make a proposal to the committee. And this is an actual copy of the boat sent to.
Here's one that's not pasted together. if you
Right,
want.
well, this one's pasted
I want
together
one of these
because it's a
copies.
little hard to read when
I
you
want
don't
one.
paste it together. All right, so
Take it. Let's see what it's
I
doing.
want to say a few things. First, comments have been made over the years that we have 1,200, in writing, by the way, to higher beings within the state, that we have 1,200 boats on Lake Hoggamonk. That is not true.
I never heard somebody say.
Well, I've seen that in black and white in my lifetime.
Okay.
We do not have 1,200 boats on Lake Hoggamonk.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, Saunders has increased his chapter 91 license, which gives him more boats or boating of, opportunity today than he had back in 1993 when this thing started. So therefore he should have more boats on his docks, and I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
And also American Marine, which used to be PBJ, has a few more boats today than they had back in the early 90s when the other gal run it. So a comment was made at the last meeting that we have 30% more power boats or boats that are powered by motors than we had years ago. That is also not true. And I thought I'd correct that. So to give you, and not only did I do this, another committee member also backed me up on this and did a survey on the same. So here's what we really have, and this is by the boat count. In 1993 on the Middle Pond, we had 311 power boats, only 44 pontoon boats, a total of 355 power. Does not
Powered
include
boats.
Sea-Doos.
Right.
Okay, power or pontoon, 355. In 2023, we only have 128 power boats and 222 pontoon boats for a total of 350. So we are down 1.4%. We are not up
30 years
30%.
later? 30, is that?
We have less boats today on the Middle Pond than
30
we
years.
had in 1993.
Is that just middle or is that
93.
93 to
93 to
So that's
2023.
30 years
just
later.
middle or total?
This Middle Pond,
Okay,
It's this middle.
South Pond.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. let's
South
do something.
Pond in 1993 had 91 power, 14 pontoon boats for 105 boats,
Powered boats, yeah.
powered boats. In 2023, it had 45 power boats, 62 pontoon boats for 107. An increase of 1.9% or two boats in a 30-year period of time.
Hard to believe.
North Pond is actually the one who's the different animal. North Pond because they were.
because they
landlocked,
opened up,
couldn't
right,
get into the middle pond.
right,
Why would you buy a pontoon boat for sure?
right.
18
So,
foot smaller.
In 1993, we had 46 power boats, one pontoon boat, one,
One stayed on
total of
pond.
47. In 2023, the power boats dropped from 46 down to 22. The pontoon boats from one went up to 42. Okay, so we went from 47 to 64. That's a 36% increase for the North Pond. For the total, we went, all three lakes now. We went from 507 boats, powered boats now, 507 to 521. That is an increase of 2.7%.
Right.
In
not
30
every
years.
jet skis.
Now, going further, forget, we're not gonna get into the power boats for what it's worth totals now, from the totals. From 1993, we went from 448 down to 195. We went from 59 pontoon boats up to 326.
That's the,
PWCs went from 44 to 72. This is the killer, and this is one of the things I want to see change. Why are we counting boats that are not registered boats?
Canoes.
Why are we counting boats that are not in the water, that are sitting on the shore? Because they make it look like we got a massive number of boats. We had 80 canoes, kayaks, and paddle boards in 1993. How many did we have in 2023? 336 of these puppies that are out there, and there is never more than 10% of that 336 in the water at any given time. You think about it. There's never more than 30 of them babies out there. I don't care what anybody says. Sail no motor, I think it's a mistake. The sail no motor, probably right, went from 41 down to 12, so we know nobody sails anymore because it's too
Right.
much work. All right, paddle boards went from 30 to 52, rowboats, a little exercise, my God, we had 149 then,
Yeah,
we get
27.
27 now. So nobody rows a rowboat
they,
anymore.
they went to canoes and
Yeah,
kayaks.
yeah.
Now, sure.
Sailboats with no motor, I question the numbers on this one, looks like a mistake on one. How did we go from 30, we went from sailboats with no motors on one of the lakes here. Sailboats with motor, we supposedly had on the middle pond 23 one year, and the next year we had 5. So I think that was
That
a
was a bad
boo-boo
count
somewhere.
somewhere.
Something doesn't sound right.
Yeah. So in any event, sailboats and motors supposedly we had 31 in 93. Now, we only have 1 today. All right, so cutting through the chase. I would like to see us amend the boat count to only include power-driven / registered boats, which is 1,021 today total. That number then would drop down to 593 boats. And Norm looked at these numbers. He sent me a survey, a graph on it as well. He agreed with my count. He says, Scotty, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see happen.
And that includes the boats at the marinas, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that also includes, it does not include the PWCs because they're registered, but half the PWCs are on the shore, half the PWCs are in the water. So if you want to count the PWCs, I say only all registered boats that are only in the water or over the water.
There's a
Because
ton of
then they're on top
PWCs
of,
out there.
then they're on top of the water.
Yeah.
They're on top
Okay.
of the water. If it's on the shore, it doesn't count.
But the PWCs, I don't know what you mean by on the shore. All the ones that I see are either tied up to the dock or up on a lift.
So I don't know
There
what-
are a few that are dragged up on the shore.
South
Not that
Park
many.
has a few.
Yeah, but
Not that many.
okay,
that's-
but you have to count them too, because, you know, I used to have one of those PWC ramp lifts.
I got one on my
That's the same
property
thing
too.
as
You
this.
wanna have it? I'll sell it to you for cheap. It hasn't run in 5 years.
Okay.
So what's cut
No,
to the
but-
chase, cause it's getting late here.
Yeah.
What are we trying to do?
I'm having a difficult time believing those numbers. Because I am seeing 2 or 3 boats right now on almost every dock. I did not see that 20 years ago,
He's talking
So I don't-
30 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
the
I get
numbers-
it. I
And the
understand,
other
but those
thing
numbers
that's
don't lie.
skewed there is the size of the boats.
Yeah.
These are not your 16, 17-foot runabouts. These are 24 to 26-foot
Party boats.
power boats.
They're
Yeah.
party boats.
150, 200 horsepower motors, 150,
Big difference.
150 on your pontoon.
I agree with everything
So,
you're saying,
That's
except
the big
the
difference.
numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah.
But
The
the, but
numbers
the,
are real,
but the
But I
area
would
that,
count the
These
PWCs.
numbers are taken over 30 years.
right, but Scotty, I think the point he's making though is, if you look at pontoons and their ability to maneuver versus a standard power boat, you know, that a 16 footer
I'm
or something
talking
like
about
that.
boat census day. We're talking about boat census.
He's just
Right.
counting boats.
But
I
you
get
still
it.
gotta track them.
I think you have to count.
Yeah,
You still gotta
they are
count 'em.
what they are.
Oh, count the PWCs, I'm with it. Count,
Even if they're on the shore.
if that's what it takes to change this, I want kayaks and rowboats if
Canoes.
it's out of the water
Canoes, huh?
and canoes off this thing. Because I just think it's just adding a fictitious number. It's a fad. Kayaks are a fad.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but
You wanna tell me how many times mine left my dock after I bought 3 of them?
You know what? In 1975, somebody said that about computers.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So, Scotty,
Look, it's here,
Scotty, are you making a
it's here to
motion that we
stay.
do this?
It's here to stay. I just wanna see this change because it's the right thing to do.
Do we need a motion to do that?
I'm making a
Why
proposal.
don't we just digest
I'm
it?
making
I
a
think we should
proposal
digest it.
that we
before.
amend it,
Table it.
that we
Table
amend.
it and talk about it
No, but
next
it's a
time.
good idea. Do you wanna make a motion? You wanna?
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the boat count to eliminate,
I,
only have it for registered.
but I think what we need to do is digest what you gave us tonight
Okay.
and come back next meeting and discuss it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, I
You know,
think it's a
And
good
Mike's not
idea.
here. Mike's not here.
And Mike's not here. And the other thing is, I think the numbers that you got, I'd like to take what you just gave, if you boil it, distill it, get it to me. I'll circulate it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So everybody can look at the same thing in advance.
But what he's saying is there's 400 little canoes and kayaks and
336.
There are.
336. Okay, so there you go.
336.
And those,
We
those-
spent time counting them and they're all over people's beaches.
One of the thing I found a little strange is you talk about paddle boards in 30 years ago.
There weren't
Stand-up
any.
Paddle boards didn't exist 30 years ago.
Doesn't
so I
matter,
don't know.
but it's on the list. It goes by the list of today. Okay,
Yeah, but you quoted numbers from 30 years ago and there were no paddle boards 30 years ago. They
we
didn't
only
exist.
added that to the list recently.
we added that on the list.
Yeah, but
recently.
you
That's
quoted-
this
you
year.
Quoted numbers from 30 years ago for paddle boards. You said numbers
Doesn't
for
matter.
paddle boards.
Doesn't matter.
No,
It
but,
was zero.
but,
They
It
didn't
doesn't
have it.
matter.
No,
There were
you-
0 paddle boards, but, wait a minute.
no, but you
But-
quoted numbers that weren't.
All right, so let's start all over. There was 80 canoes and kayaks,
Yeah.
and most of them were canoes, by the way, in 1993.
Right.
Today, we're added to that, even another number.
Yeah.
And how many paddle boards are there? On all 3 lakes?
20,
You tell me, 20?
I don't know.
25?
I have no idea.
30?
Wow.
30?
I don't
A
know.
lot.
We've still gone from 80 to 336 of them.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's a meaningless number because they're not on the water, up on shore.
And they're
Well,
not
I
registered.
guess-
I do like the idea of
So
counting
the-
registered.
The only
boats.
reason I
That's a
don't
good
agree
idea.
with that
And jet skis.
statement is because it's not
Well, they're
true that they're
registered
not on the water.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
So-
We count.
They're
anything
not
that's
in the
registered.
water.
Well, sure they are when they get used. So for example, I have 2 paddle boards that aren't in that count because they're up in my house and I pull them down when I use them. When they're on the
If you leave them
water,
down there, somebody will
when they're
steal them.
on the water, they're on the water. In other words, when I
I
go
think-
out, when I go out in the
But I
boat,
think, yeah.
when
I
I go
think
out
what
in
we
the
need to
boat.
do is table it.
Yeah, okay.
Give me the number.
We don't count,
Scotty,
we don't,
time out,
one
time out,
more
time
thing,
out,
Dick,
time
one
out.
more thing.
Yeah,
We don't count one boat in this boat census every year for all the boats that come into the launch. What's the difference?
Yeah, send it to Dick.
Well,
We-
because
we don't
we know
count
that.
any
We
of
know,
No,
we know what those
that
numbers are.
We don't count any of those boats. What
Yes, but we know that number. And that number doesn't change.
Yeah, Scotty
Right.
already has it.
do you mean it doesn't change?
Okay.
It doesn't change
That's
because the number
You
is.
make it and I'll second it. We're making a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
How's
right,
that?
fine. Okay.
And then I'm gonna second it.
Yep,
Good.
hold on a minute, let me capture that.
Get that down, Deb.
Yeah.
Deb made the
Got a
motion.
lot to do. So let's.
All right, so Deb made the motion and Malcolm
I'm
seconded.
seconding
All in
it.
favor,
Aye, aye,
Opposed?
aye,
abstain, unanimous.
unanimous.
And it is what time?
8:25 almost.
8:25
8:25, yeah.